We've got breaking news into CBS Sports HQ. First, this is what Brad Crawford thinks the playoff projection will look like. And so far, Brad is right on the money. Indiana just named the #1 seed for the CFP. Ohio State, the #2 seed. Let's welcome on Brad Crawford to react to this. Brad, this is what you predicted. Right move?
Yeah, I thought Ohio State would be #2, despite Georgia's dominant win over Alabama in Atlanta. I think we saw last night, Emily, in the Big Ten championship game, these were clearly America's two best teams. This is what the committee has told us the last 5 weeks. Nothing about a 13-10 final at Lucas Oil Stadium changed that. Indiana, with a couple goal line stops, had a missed field goal there and was able to beat Ohio State. So Indiana rightfully at #1, Ohio State 2, and looks like Georgia at 3.
All right, #3 is Georgia just coming out, so we have to assume that #4 is Texas Tech. How much thought process did you go through when ranking those top 4 teams that end up with byes?
Yeah, I thought there was a chance heading into Saturday night's Big Ten championship game. If Ohio State had won that, perhaps Indiana would slide to 4, and the committee would put 3 conference champions in those 1, 2, 3 holes. That would have been easy. Texas Tech has looked like one of the most dominant teams in college football this season. Showed it again in the Big 12 championship game. Decimated a BYU team that I thought was pretty good for a second time this season. Texas Tech right now and Indiana, 2 teams that championship Saturday showed off elite defensive performances.
All right, Brad Crawford, appreciate all your brackets throughout the season. But we want to react here in studio because our Georgia fan here, you're not just cheering for the fact that Georgia got a bye. What makes that 3 seed so advantageous?
The 3 seed is I think the 3 seed is the 1 seed, in my opinion. This is a team that's going to play the 6-11, which I'm pretty confident will be Ole Miss versus Tulane, Ole Miss versus JMU. That's a spot I want to be in. I think the 3 seed is the 1. Like, I'm looking at all of our past projections, and every single time we have a team in the 3 seed versus the 1 seed, they have at least a 15% chance better to go to the national championship because that path is just seeming more favorable here. And now you're getting a Lane Kiffinless Ole Miss potentially at that 6 seed. That's an awesome spot to be because you're looking at that 2 seed. You play the 7-10 winner. Right now we have that as Texas A&M Bama. See Ole Miss or Tulane, then Bama in that second round.
So Texas Tech gets the 4 seed. That is just breaking right now. What was the Red Raiders' case for maybe moving up in this top 4 byes?
That you beat a top 15 team twice, same team. It's very hard, very difficult to beat the same team twice in a season. That's always the case. And as you saw with Alabama, Georgia just last night in the SEC championship game, Texas Tech, they are built to be able to win a national championship. You've got a bye. You've got that. You're going to probably play in the Cotton Bowl there in your home state. You've got a very favorable draw. And I know, as you said, the percentages are certain seeds you want to be in and everything. But it's about as good as you could ask for. And you got your first round bye. You deserve it. And the Big 12, as we've seen, just below the SEC and the Big 10 this year. I will say the thing that sticks out to me, and I'm glad the committee did this, they've got Ohio State at 2. Which shows to me that they believe, obviously, the Big Ten top dogs are better than the SEC's top dogs. They did not reward Georgia for blowing out Alabama. So let's see how they treat Alabama for getting blown out by Georgia.
So #4 Texas Tech likely to play now. We're learning #5 Oregon in that second round. What do you think the Ducks as the 5 seed?
I think they're dangerous. I think they're a dangerous team right now that can absolutely, if they get healthy and they get some of these offensive weapons back to Corian Moore, Evan Stewart possibly, I think they're a team that could absolutely win this entire thing. The other thing, too, that I think they honored, and Ohio, we've talked so much about schedules, they had the win against Texas. Like, I think that might be a reason why Ohio State is there. And by the way, Texas Tech did not play. They played, what was it, who was their non-conference? Washington State. Like, they had 3 group of 5 teams out of conference. They really didn't play anybody outside the Big 12. That was really a signature win. So I think that's another reason why Texas Tech is at the 4th seed as opposed to higher.
We have that Texas Tech-Oregon game. Texas Tech with a 40% chance to beat Oregon in round 2. So that'll be around a close to a touchdown.
In the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
Oregon is going to handle Texas Tech.
Yeah,
Texas Tech and Oklahoma are the same team.
Right. That is a tough opening game for Texas Tech, who gets that bye. Still TBD on who Oregon plays as that 5 seed. We're learning the 6 seed is Ole Miss, 7 seed Texas A&M. Is this about what we expected, Brandon?
Yep. Yeah, nothing too surprising here. The only thing, as I said, the one thing that sticks out is that they rewarded Ohio State for playing so freaking well, having that non-conference win against Texas in week 1, and they've rewarded them for their body of work. And very clearly last night what we saw on the field in Indy is the top 2 teams in the country.
Very curious to see if this Texas A&M team is going to be playing Notre Dame or if they're going to be potentially playing Bama, because I think they're about to try to make sure we don't get regular season rematches here, but Texas A&M Bama could be a very interesting situation.
Who should Texas A&M be rooting for in this potential 7-10 matchup, Kens?
I mean, you've beaten Notre Dame, right? So I guess in theory you want that again, but it's really hard to beat the same team twice, especially in one season. We learned that with Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs and what we saw in that SEC championship last night. So I guess you're rooting for Bama. I guess you're rooting Bama's in here, but I think we're going to find out pretty soon if they are, and I think they will be the 10 seed.
I'm going to throw this out there. How much you want to bet we see Notre Dame at OU?
Yeah.
8-9.
Potentially,
I like that. That's probably most likely.
Oklahoma
That's what we have
just
projected.
now projected, or they are officially in as the number 8 seed in this bracket. Are they worthy of that number 8, Danny Cannell?
Yeah, their resume is worthy. The eye test,
The
the
team?
offense have so many struggles, but their defense is incredible.
Yeah.
And by the way, they've been so incredible the last 3 or 4 games without R. Mason Thomas, who's the best defensive player. I just don't think that team, they don't trust John Mateer. That offense cannot keep relying on Isaiah Satania big play to bail them out.
We talk a lot about teams looking different and everything, and obviously they look different since he injured the hand. I do wonder, and I'm going to look into this as a reporter, how much more can he actually heal up from that injury, and does that improve things here over the next 2 weeks? Because that could be a big storyline to follow.
Only thing I would push back on that, if you go watch the Michigan game and some of the earlier
Danny,
games,
I got to cut you off.
Yeah, what do we
Alabama
got?
is in the bracket at number 9.
Wow.
Anybody have anything more than wow to say about this?
I can't believe we're going to see a rematch of the regular season. I really thought they were going to skew that around to make
so
it
it'll be
Notre
number
Dame.
9 Alabama versus number 8 Oklahoma. You say insane. Why?
I don't like it at all.
No.
Why are you moving? No.
So Alabama does not move
So
at all.
they're not punishing someone for getting blown out in the conference championship
Oh,
game.
Oh,
Damian
look who it
Harris. What do we think? Alabama is in the bracket at number 9. No change
Hold on,
based
let
on
me
what we
pause
saw
right now.
last
I got
night.
the volume all the way up. Listening to my Tide be introduced to the college football playoff at the number 9 spot. Listen, I'm with the guys at the desk. I don't agree. I don't agree. I think that as we've sat here and tried to figure out what are the most important statistics or metrics for the playoff committee, the two things that stick out to me, it's got to be head-to-head and it's got to be eye test. Like I said earlier, Alabama, they peaked weeks 3 through 6, 3 through 8, something like that, and they just don't look the part. When I look at every other team that has been listed in the college football playoffs, I think each and every single one of these teams could potentially win a national championship. I know I went to Alabama. I know I'm supposed to say, oh, I have confidence that they can win a national championship, but I just don't. And that's the eye test part that I can't get over. And if I'm one of these teams, Miami or Notre Dame, that more than likely doesn't get in, I'm going to be raising hell about this, because there's no way watching Alabama play last night, at least they didn't drop at all. They didn't move. Like, you watched that game last night. You watched the performance by Ty Simpson, the lack of the running game, the holes in the defense. They shouldn't have been in. Point blank. They shouldn't have been in.
Miami is now in the bracket at number 10.
Holy.
Guys?
This is legitimately like the first, oh my gosh moment with the committee I've seen since we've been even doing the
I didn't think
14
they'd do
playoff.
it. They did it.
But this is a good thing.
It is a
right?
good thing.
Yes.
So does this mean Notre Dame is out?
Yes.
I can't believe they did this.
I'm stunned.
Because the final 2 seeds will go to conference champions, whether that is Duke out of the ACC or the Dukes out of the Sun Belt and James Madison. We already assume that Tulane will be in this bracket. So Miami, it sounds like head-to-head officially
Finally
is now.
mattered.
All
yes.
right, we're back.
Do
Finally,
they realize that
got it
game was
right.
week 1, right?
Yes,
But now it
absolutely.
matters.
Well, that's the thing. The committee set themselves up to look foolish. But now, finally, we get what mattered the most, which was what transpired on the field. I think Miami is... They're both really good football teams, but I think you have to go honor that. And I think Miami is a team that could win the whole thing. The other thing to remember is Notre Dame has such a advantage of not having to ever play in a conference championship
Right.
game. I wonder
They
if
had
those
to be
committee
punished,
members,
alas.
almost
Punish
at
them.
some point to say, you know what, we're letting you get in and letting you, take every bit of the earnings from the college football playoff. I'm sure there's some ADs in there that were like, all right, let's send a message that Notre Dame, you can't have the best of both worlds forever.
Also, as a head coach and a staff, you are preparing your team as if you're not playing in a conference championship. You're not contending for that. So you might pull back on guys. We talk about workload and all that. Coaches are big on that nowadays, keeping guys off their feet. And so there's a lot that goes into this about Notre Dame. It's like, when are you able to rest your horses a little bit more? Or are you going full speed? Meanwhile, you had Miami go full throttle against Pitt in the end of the season and then win all their games in the month of November, and trying to fight themselves to prove that what they did in week 1 is in fact what they are today. So they reward Miami.
And this is good news for Miami, obviously, but Kenzie, this is good news for the rest of the bracket, because you projected Notre Dame to what? Go to the national championship?
I'd say about 75% of our brackets through the week was Notre Dame making it to the national championship. Wow. If they were in, they were going to wreak havoc. This isn't me saying they should be in, but this is a really, really good football team that went to a national championship last year. They add a passing game with C.J. Carr. Their stats and their metrics, as we all know, as the committee mentioned, were just going like this all season. So I do think they would have made some loud noise in the playoff, but it is great news for everyone else now because they're no longer a threat.
By the way, I think Miami can still make loud noise in the playoffs as long as Carson Beck doesn't throw the interceptions to the other team. And I think actually it's a pretty good matchup for Miami. Texas A&M is a team that hasn't really done that much. They do have a common opponent. We saw that game come down to the wire in South Bend. We saw some of their deficiencies against the Texas Longhorns. Their schedule hasn't exactly been the strongest. They played all the bottom dwellers of the SEC, and then finally they played Texas, and they came up short. The huge advantage for them is a home game in College Station, but I think Miami is equipped physically to knock off the Aggies.
And so number 11 is Tulane. Just want to mention that. We're still waiting for 12, whether that belongs to James Madison or Duke.
Another rematch, by the way.
Tulane
at Ole Miss.
45-10 was the first time.
And if we get James Madison against Oregon, that's probably going to be another blowout for the group of 5. What terrible matchups there.
You're looking at that 7-10 two teams basically coming off their own organic bye, if you want to call it, too. So that'll be interesting to see because these are teams that are going to be rested.
Damien, were you able to watch Notre Dame and I apologize. I got to cut in with James Madison officially in. So Duke is out. Damien, I'll let you get the first word here. What do you think about James Madison, a G5 team over the ACC champ?
I don't like it again. And I'm going to go back to their one game against a Power 4 opponent, and they weren't ready for the moment. And then I look at the matchup they're going to have where they're going to be playing Oregon in Autzen Stadium. Brandon just said it best. This is a horrible matchup for JMU. I don't see them wreaking any havoc or making any type of noise. I think Duke might have had a better chance based on the quarterback that they have and his ability to make plays. But, man, JMU, this could get real ugly for them.
You know what it's going to remind me of? Remember when Liberty went undefeated? And that was before the 12-team playoff. They played Oregon in the bowl game and got waxed. I think it's going to be a very similar. This is a great tune-up for Oregon. Again, I think Oregon is very dangerous. This will be a great tune-up game for them to advance the next round against Texas Tech. This is crazy.
So Notre Dame is a first team out. And we always talked about going back to that 12 seed with James Madison, the potential chaos scenario with Duke making the ACC title game. And would the ACC get completely shut out? Danny, they avoided that by putting Miami in.
Because I do think this is where Miami did probably have an edge, because it was really a question, are you really going to leave a Power 4 team completely without any teams in the playoff? And I think this is the best case scenario for the ACC, because if you would have had Duke in, they're probably making an early exit. I already told you, I think Miami could beat Texas A&M and possibly make some noise in the playoff. So I think this is a big win for not only for Miami Hurricanes, but for the ACC. If you could pick one, you'd clearly want Miami.
I do wonder the human component. Listen, they're humans. They're on this committee.
I wonder if they poking the bear.
I wonder.
They did fly a plane